ESPN.com. Jim Basketball alongside Brian Campbell. Dan Rafael will join us in a moment. Floyd Manny step in the ring on May 2nd. Brian, what has
kind
your
of, Jim, how
attention
quiet on the set things have been. You know, the fight was announced. It was a big to-do, of course, for so many reasons. You even had that first news conference that was relatively anticlimactic. Yeah. Since then, not a lot to really Certain work
guys
with.
are knocking out certain sparring partners.
Other guys are taking punishment. I'm not sure we can put a lot of belief or stock into all of that. But one thing's really interesting outside of how long it took for us to get here is the hero and villain roles are so clearly defined in this. Anyone with even a knowledge of who Mayweather and Pacquiao is knows the roles.
Yeah, it's a good point, though. The fact that it's about a month out, and this is a mega fight, and we haven't felt the build-up yet.
This is the quiet right now before the storm. I think that will come down the stretch.
ESPN Boxing
storylines, a lot of
Dan
our excitement is going to start coming out as you start to see the pre-fight documentary series that are going to come out on both HBO and Showtime. Look, these are two professionals. There's not going to be a lot of trash talking, you don't think. But
potential figures attached to this fight. So what has your focus regarding this matchup?
Well, Jim, there's a couple of things. One is boxing related, and that is about the fact that I've read and heard and spoken to people a lot about the fact that Manny's been having problems with the calf again. You know, he's had that issue in other fights where they have tightened up on him. He's gotten cramps, and so he's been laying off his road work a little bit in the camp, doing all. So that's just something to kind of look out for. Perhaps an excuse down the line should he lose. Hopefully there won't be any excuses from either side, whoever the loser is, but certainly the health of Pacquiao's calf, something to keep an eye on. Talked a lot about that financial stuff last week, but you know, here we are a week later. They still haven't announced the price of the pay-per-view. They still haven't put on a specific ticket announcement. A lot of things that are nuts and bolts related to the actual how I can see this fight related to the promotion. And that's sort of surprising given that we're now getting pretty close to the fight.
Yeah, you know, I talked to Dan and I talked to you about these specific questions coming up for both of you. And tell me why Manny, Brian, this is for you, has a better shot now.
I believe 5 or 6 years ago, that as good as Pacquiao was offensively, that Floyd was just that much better, that he would have had that advantage. But what has happened in those 5 to 6 years? I think we all know that both of the fighters, you know, they've gotten a little bit older, and with that, they've lost, you know, there's been some slippage. Right now, I think Mayweather's slippage is more physical. Just the fact that he's 2 years older than Pacquiao, that a lot of what he does with the slippage to me is more of the way he sets up for a fight and looks at it than necessarily the physically. And I think it's more of a transition of his mindset. He's not that hurricane offensive fighter that came into your face with, in reference, of course, the knockout loss to Marquez. Some people will claim it was more of his religious conversion. Whatever it is, we're seeing a Manny Pacquiao that's relying much more on boxing these days than being the puncher and being the guy who chases you down. And I don't think that his slip as much physically. I think that he's retained that top-end hand speed at 36 years old, gives him as good of a chance in the fight right now than he ever would have had. And I think that's going to be the key. We just haven't a lot of times.
Yeah, with Floyd, Brian, though, it's subtle. You really have to be someone that follows the boxing game to understand it with Floyd, because the average boxing fan might not than it would have, say, 5 or 6 years ago. Dan, tell me what.
Well, I think Brian touched on it a little bit, the fact that even though these two guys are still at the top of the game, you can't deny the fact that their skills and their and so at the highest level, if it erodes just a little bit, that may force them to stand closer a little bit longer than maybe they would have before when the speed was ridiculous. And
we can only hope. You just get the feel overall. You get the feel overall that from the time it was announced to the time they're going to step in the ring, it just seems like it all came together and it's rushed so quickly. It's upon us so fast.
But these guys are pros. If anyone's going to be in shape, year-round, top-level shape, it's these two fighters. I don't think that's going to affect
Fair enough.
Years ago,
Floyd, Manny,
it becomes that much more of a big fight in each of their minds. They can say whatever they want in the public and at the press conferences and all the different things that they're being asked about in interviews. But make absolutely no mistake, this is the legacy fight, period. And they know it, and they have the desire to win it more than it's going to mean that come fight night, they will have no choice, but they will have to let it all hang out if they want to win. And that could produce a better fight than I think some people think it might be. I hope that's the case. I can't wait if they lay it on the line.